the direct tie between Nicholas and how he was saving girls from trafficking versus we live in a society today where OnlyFans and the Lily Phillips culture are prevalent and you hear people celebrating it and then they'll still go and celebrate Christmas without seeing the the glaring contradiction in terms between the two. And so, Dr. Taylor Marshall, St. Nicholas, it's not just about giving gifts, is it?
No, it's about, in his case, redeeming young women. But if you look at the whole
Yes.
scope of his life, it's redeeming culture, it's redeeming the Roman Empire, it's redeeming politics, it's redeeming everything. And it's these small acts of charity. And that's in the book, it retells, it's a historical novella, and it retells how gritty and ugly ancient Roman culture was, and how Christians like Nicholas were these bright and shining lights of hope and of redemption for people who were given over to idolatry, sexual immorality, slavery, all kinds of degenerate behaviors. And so I think it's absolutely fitting. It's a divine miracle. It's providential that St. Nicholas on December 6th is positioned there at the beginning of December for Christians to begin their focus on how do I bring redemption to my culture, my family, my town, my neighborhood, because that is how the culture war is won. It's exactly how St. Nicholas did it. He was doing small acts of charity anonymously. I think that's another key about Nicholas. He wasn't like a Pharisee on the street corners saying, look how holy, look how righteous I am. He did all of this in secret because he wanted the credit from God, not from man. And as I said earlier, he was a very wealthy man from a wealthy family. He gave all that up. And during the persecution under Diocletian, he was imprisoned and he was on death row. Most of the bishops during this time, most of the pastors in the early 300s were all being martyred. They were dying. To be baptized was a very good chance to be killed by the Roman Empire, but to be ordained, to be amongst the clergy, was almost a certain death sentence. So Nicholas was in prison, and they were saying, deny Christ, and you can go free. And he would not. So he goes from one of the wealthiest men to rotting in a jail cell on death row, condemned to be killed. And then Constantine arrives, and Constantine makes Christianity tolerated and legal in the Roman Empire. And it's because of Constantine that Nicholas gets out of prison and gets a second half to his life. He gets another chance in this world to extend the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And because of Constantine, Nicholas goes back to his pastoral work, and he becomes very important in the controversy over whether Jesus Christ is truly the Son of God, which also roots Nicholas back to Christmas and fighting the Arian heresy. And there's a famous story where they're at the Council of Nicaea in 325, and Arius, the heretic, is there. And Arius is saying Jesus is not truly the Son of God. And Nicholas was so perturbed and so upset, he stood up and slapped Arius across the face in front of a whole assembly of bishops because of the blasphemy. So we see here, I think, there's definitely a masculinity, a presence. He doesn't put up with heresy. He stands for the truth, and he stands for Jesus Christ, true God, true man, which ultimately is the message of Christmas, that the baby lying in a manger is not just a cute prophet, but that is the Son of God, light of light, true God of true God. So there's a lot of theology there. There's a lot of history there. And this is why Nicholas has been so popular for almost 2,000 years. And the sad thing is basically the red and white ho, ho, ho Santa was just it was an appropriation by the Coca-Cola company to sell Coca-Cola. And that's the association with the red and white. And it became a marketing scheme, a marketing plan. And unfortunately, as our culture became less and less Christian.
Yeah, actually, just on that real quick, that because as everyone knows, my wife comes from the Orthodox world. That the Orthodox and they call him Ded Maroz, which is like Father Frost. He was essentially the same character in some ways. He's got a granddaughter in that tradition, and he always wears blue. So the red is very much a Western marketing tradition. Even traditional Santa Clauses, you can find nutcrackers and things that'll be green or more elf-like.
Right.
You know, it really and again in the Orthodox world, you'll see blue a lot. Not always, but you'll see a lot of it. So the idea then that the red and white, that's really a modern marketing tradition. But I guess one of the questions that I have is let's say folks are watching and they've got little kids or little grandkids and they want to keep the idea of Santa Claus still alive for them, but they want to connect Santa Claus to Christ. And one of the things that I hear a lot is, well, it's simple. The magic of Santa Claus, it's, he's able to do what he does because of God, because he's been given the job by Christ. And that's something that you never see. And in every single adaptation, every year there's like a new adaptation of Santa right now, but I've never seen one where they say, yeah, it was Christ who gave him that gig. What would you recommend to folks like that?
Well, I'm working on a screenplay right now on Nicolaus. So
Oh,
hopefully,
here we go. He's
hope,
pitching. He's pitching on Human Events, folks. Here it
so
comes.
hopefully that film will be coming to you in maybe 2026. But yeah, that film does not yet exist. And I think, Joe and I, we have 8 children. We've been doing this a long time. And one of the things we did when the kids were young is we had a Byzantine, like an Eastern Orthodox icon that's pretty large. And we hung it on the wall near our Christmas tree. And we just taught our children that is St. Nicholas. So it sort of shows them that this is a true saint. He is a bishop. And then I think it's important to tell these stories to your children. You can give them the full, if they're older, the full kind of gritty edition of, man, there was, a really bad culture at that time. And St. Nicholas was a powerful influence against it for Christ. But you can also tell them these stories about, and there's kids' books of this as well, of Nicholas being a gift giver, of Nicholas being a champion for Jesus Christ, of Nicholas being a pastor, just as you would tell of any other story of a Bible figure or a saint or an important person in our history, like telling our kids about George Washington or whatever. And that way, their understanding of Nicholas is rooted in truth. And of course, you can still have magical moments and St. Nicholas can still bring gifts. We did all of that as our kids were young, but all of our kids along the way knew that Nicholas, like, again, do you believe in Santa? There's that magic. All of our kids, even as they got older, like, of course, Nicholas is real. He doesn't live at the North Pole. He lives in heaven. And I think teaching our kids that, I think the Eastern Christians have maintained that. In the West, as we become more secular, the whole Coca-Cola red and white, ho, 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 Santa has taken over. I think it's very important that young children realize that St. Nicholas is a disciple of Jesus Christ. He is a servant and teacher and preacher of Jesus Christ. And that's why he was a gift giver. So I think that's how we retake it. Just as we were talking about Halloween, like Halloween is All Hallows Eve. It's a celebration of all saints. And as long as you can keep the true history, the true theology connected to it, I think it's great for your kids. I think it's great for the family. I think it actually is very enriching to see that not only is gift giving part of the Bible, it's part of our Christian tradition to redeem culture by gift giving. And that kind of guts out the commercialism of Christmas. It shows you that really gift giving should be something that is culturally powerful, reclaiming.